Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න. Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න.
Pairs Chuti Pack රුපියල් 37ක වාසියක්. දැන් රුපියල් 145යි.
Tonight, misfire. Officer in charge of crimes of the Thiagoda police station who misfired his firearm, injuring a 15-year-old boy, remanded. Misinterpretation. Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka calls on Public Security Minister to direct IGP to make some regulations of the police ordinance impermissible if fundamental rights impacted. Grace period granted for institutions providing essential services to repay electricity bills. This Saturday, the 29th of October 2022.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. I'm Andrew Bernard. Now in your top story for tonight, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena states that more attention should be given for the development of the tourism industry at provincial level, adding that steps should be taken beyond traditional methods to increase foreign exchange earnings to the country. The Premier made these remarks during an online discussion with provincial governors at the Temple Trees on Thursday.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena held virtual discussions on the Rural Economic Revival and Food Security Program with the provincial governors recently. This program is also expected to improve income of the rural people by providing more attention to the production of agricultural export crops specific to each province. Through this effort, it is expected to increase the export economy of the country. During the discussion, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena highlighted that more attention should be given to the development of the tourism industry at provincial level by developing tourist destinations and opening tourism windows in every province. The Prime Minister also added that steps beyond the traditional methods should be taken to improve foreign income generation to Sri Lanka. He further added that the country has already embarked on an economic process that can win the trust of the international community by implementing programs to boost the economy at the national level. Furthermore, the Premier stated that it is also important to get the support of the private sector since more benefits can be obtained by working through an integrated development program in every sector. He also stated that the direct contribution of the governors and provincial council officers and former public representatives is essential for the success of the Rural Economic Revival and Food Security Program. The Secretary to the Prime Minister, Anura Dissanayake, the Secretary of the Public Administration Ministry, Mr. M.P.K. Mayadunne, and provincial governors as well as provincial secretaries participated in the discussion.
Now, the Ministry of Power and Energy announced today that they have taken a decision to provide hospitals and institutions that are engaged in essential services with a grace period to repay their electricity bills. Making these comments during a media briefing today, State Minister of Power and Energy Indika Anuruddha Herath said that they had decided to do so because many institutions were delaying their payments due to the recent electricity tariff hike.
හිගල් බිල් පත් එකතුවීම් විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය තුල තියෙනවා. ඒවා විදුලි බිල වැඩිවීමත් එක්ක ගෙවීම් ප්‍රමාද වෙන තත්වයකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. අපි විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය ඒ වගේම විදුලි පුද්ගලික සමාගම මේ සියලු ආයතන එකතු වෙලා මේ වෙද්දී අය කර ගැනීම සඳහා කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා. බලධාරීන්ට අපි දැනුවත් කරලා තියෙනවා ඒවට ගෙවන්න නිශ්චිත කාලයක් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි තීන්දුවක් අරන් තියෙනවා විශේෂයෙන් රෝහල් ඒ වගේම අනිකුත් අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවාවන් සිද්ධ වෙන තැන්වලදී විදුලි කප්පාදුව ඒ සම්බන්ධීකරණය මත යම්කිසි කාලවකවානුවක් තුල ගෙවීමේ පදනම මත ඉස්සරහට කටයුතු කරගෙන යන්න.
Now, the sub-inspector arrested in connection with the firearm discharge which critically injured a 15-year-old boy has been remanded until the 4th of November, subsequent to being produced before the Matara Magistrates Court earlier today. The injured boy was admitted to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital and is reported to be in a stable condition.
Based on a tip, the officer in charge of the crimes division of the Tihagoda police and 2 other officers conducted a raid in a house in the area on suspicion of hosting narcotic activities. Following the inspection of the house, the police spotted a 3-wheeler being driven recklessly on the road and was ordered to stop immediately. According to reports, although the driver of the 3-wheeler heeded the command initially, he started driving again as the officers drew closer. Finally, the 3-wheeler came to a stop while travelling along the Tihagoda Kandipula road and was then intercepted by the crimes OIC of the Tihagoda police station clad in civilian clothing. The officer drew his weapon onto the head of a 15-year-old child and commanded the group of 5 individuals inside the 3-wheeler to get down. When the child on whom the gun was drawn was getting down from the 3-wheeler, the firearm was discharged, critically injuring the 15-year-old child. The police officers then proceeded to take the injured child to the Matra hospital. The child was then transferred to the Karapiti Teaching Hospital for further treatments. The injured was identified as a 15-year-old schoolboy. Following this incident, residents of the area gathered at the Tihagoda police station demanding more information from the officers regarding the shooting. Security at the Tihagoda police station was tightened, with officers from nearby police stations being deployed as well. However, not too long after the group of people made their way to the station, a tense situation arose when a young woman claimed that she was physically assaulted by a police officer. The police was finally able to de-escalate the situation, with the senior DIG in charge of the southern province, Ajit Rohana, also arriving at the location. The OIC of the crimes division of the Tihagoda police station was taken into custody last night and his services suspended since. Meanwhile, the child who was transferred to the Karapiti Teaching Hospital was admitted to the intensive care unit. A surgery was then performed on the child to treat his head injury. Another surgery was performed today to remove blood clots remaining in his skull. According to hospital sources, the child is in a stable condition at the moment, having shown improvement from the time he was admitted to the hospital. In the meantime, the OIC in charge of crimes of the Tihagoda police station, who was arrested last night, was produced before the Mathura Magistrates Court today and has admitted his wrongdoing. The officer was then placed in remand custody until the 4th of November. The magistrate also informed authorities to place the officer in any prison other than the Mathura, Gaul and Angunukalapalasa prisons. Meanwhile, officials of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka visited the scene of the shooting for investigations and recorded relevant evidence.
In the meantime, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka has informed the Minister of Public Security regarding the police's misinterpreting Section 7, 2 and 3 of the Police Ordinance to suppress the fundamental rights of the people during protests. The HRCSL calls on the subject minister to direct the IGP to ensure that these certain regulations made in terms of the Police Ordinance would not be permissible if it impacts fundamental rights of the people.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka has recommended the Minister of Public Security to direct the IGP that regulations made in terms of the police ordinance would not be permissible if it reasonably impacts the exercise of fundamental rights and freedoms ensured in the Constitution. The HRCSL chairperson, Justice Rohini Marasinghe, has stated this in a letter addressed to the Public Security Minister on the application of Police Ordinance No. 16 of 1865 to civilian protests. In the letter, she points out that one of the functions of the HRCSL is to make recommendations to the government regarding measures which should be taken to ensure the national laws and administrative practices are in accordance with international human rights and standards. The Commission said it wishes to appraise the Minister of the application of the Police Ordinance, in particular Section 77 to 80, in order to ensure that the fundamental freedoms of speech and expression and peaceful assembly of the people mentioned in the Constitution are protected, subject to the restrictions contained in the Constitution itself. The provisions that the Commission takes particular issue with are Section 77.2 and 3 of the Police Ordinance. Section 77.3 of the Police Ordinance states that a police officer not below the grade of Assistant Superintendent may prohibit a public procession or subject it to conditions if he considers it to be expedient to do so in the interest of preservation of public order. The Commission says it is of the opinion that the Police Ordinance has been incorrectly interpreted and applied in the recent past to suppress fundamental freedoms of speech and expression. Therefore, the Commission recommended the Minister to direct the IGP that regulations made in terms of the Police Ordinance would not be permissible if it reasonably impacts the exercise of fundamental rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution.
Now, the Ministry of Defence yesterday declared a general amnesty for the Triforce's absentees, enabling them to receive a legal discharge from their respective services. Issuing a statement yesterday, the ministry said the period of the general amnesty will be enforced from the 15th of November until the 31st of December 2022. Accordingly, armed forces personnel who have been absent without leave on or before the 25th of October will be able to receive their discharge from the military service, and if any amount is due, it should be settled prior to the discharge. And we'll be back with more news after this short break. Stay with us.
රයිනෝ පුතා හැබැයි යා ගෙදර නිදියන්නෙම අමුතු තැනක.
කාලගුණය කොහොමුණත් රයිනෝ නං වහලට සේෆ් තමයි මුළු ගෙදරම. Rhino cement roofing sheets. Then you know Rhino. I know.
Big 3.
Welcome back. Now, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera says the government has taken measures to introduce laws to prevent the use of agrochemicals in farming. While making these remarks in Colombo yesterday, the minister went on to say that he will ensure that all products that are made available in the market are safe and free from chemicals.
Our focus in food security in Sri Lanka is mainly with rice. We need approximately 2.3 million tons of rice to feed our nation per year. If we can achieve this target, we can manage food security to a larger extent. At the same time, we can sort out issues in other segments like poultry and livestock. Immediate steps are taken which are necessary to be taken to sort out the identified key issues. Government considers working on some relief packages to our farmers based on the current economic terms. As the Minister of Agriculture, I had discussion with the members of the industry, fertilizer, agrochemicals, seeds, and we even worked on fuel requirements. With all the efforts, we could arrange supply of fertilizer for Maha season, and I know agrochemicals and seeds are also being imported. We have completely removed all the import barriers and arrangements were made by the government to import seeds. Even if we will not be able to meet the full supply, we would be able to see a good improvement than the last year. Officers of the Ministry of Agriculture have taken steps to introduce new laws to stop illegal products based on agrochemical seeds or any other illegal products. As the Minister of Agriculture, I want the products to be tested and approved by the government institutions and made available in the market. End of the day, we want to make sure food is available and they are safe to eat. We are working to achieve.
Now, the leader of the Jatika Janabalawegaya, Anurukumara Dissanayake, says the JJB is the political party that would be able to rebuild the nation. He made these remarks while attending a public gathering in Kurunegala today. All the other political camps have collapsed. There is nothing called the SLPP now. It has ended. This is because those parties do not run on principles. The existence of these parties are based on their leader. That is why the journey of the SLPP has ended. High ranks of the SLPP are seeking a leader now. Many go to Ranil Wickremesinghe. There's no politics in the Sajid political camp. There was only one reason for the formation of the SJB from the UNP. There was no change in policies. Now Ranil is the president himself. The SJB is coming to an end, and a great opportunity has been created for the JJB. It should be said that it is difficult for some people to get close to the JVP, and it is also difficult to approach some. But the JJB is the place where we can all unite with one purpose. Some people question as to who is going to take over the economy. Yes, we don't have thieves like Ravi Karunanayake and Basil Rajapaksa. However, in our country, we have a number of leaders who are well versed with economics and are constantly in contact with the general public. People were asked to vote for Gotabaya to send Ranil home. But what has happened? Now Gotabaya has gone home, leaving the presidency to Ranil. So is there a difference? Governments were formed and changed in anticipation of change. However, there has been no real change. We have seen enough camps already destroyed. We, the JJB, are the only political camp who will rebuild this destroyed nation. Now, the Department of Meteorology today announced that a low-level atmospheric disturbance is developing in the vicinity of Sri Lanka, bringing showers over the island during the next few days. The department said that fairly heavy showers of above 50 millimeters are likely to occur at some places in the Sabaragamu and central provinces. They also stated that showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the northern, eastern and north central provinces. Meanwhile, the naval and fishing community was also warned to temporarily strong gusty winds and very rough seas during the thunder showers. The general public was also cautioned to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the downpours. Now, the Welfare Benefits Board announced that the acceptance of applications for the program to identify people who are eligible to receive welfare benefit payments implemented under the theme Leave No One Behind ended yesterday. According to the Welfare Benefits Board, the details of 2.4 million applicants who had applied for state welfare benefits are currently registered in the Welfare Benefits data system. The information of around 70% of community has been fed into the system. The remaining 30% of applicants have been filed into the divisional secretariat offices, and all the divisional secretaries are currently working to feed them into the system as soon as possible. The Welfare Benefits Board stated that the second phase of the program, which is the information consensus to be conducted at the homes of the applicants, is scheduled to convene in November. The program was initiated on the directives of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The registration application forms were published on the 30th of August 2022, and the number of applicants entered into the data system stood at 100,000 by the 29th of September. The closing date and the acceptance of applications was initially supposed to end on the 15th of October. However, it was later extended until the 28th of this month. Now, a robust, broad-based rally sent Wall Street to a sharp higher close yesterday as encouraging economic data and a better earnings outlook fueled investor risk appetite ahead of the next week's much-anticipated two-day policy meeting of the Federal Reserve. All major US indexes ended the session up about 2.5% or more, with the S&P and Nasdaq notching their second straight weekly gains.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 2.59% to 32,861 points yesterday, while the S&P 500 gained 2.46% to 3,901.06 points, while the Nasdaq Composite added 2.87% to close at 11,102.45 points. The blue chip Dow posted its fourth consecutive Friday-to-Friday advance and its biggest weekly percentage gain since May. Solid earnings beats from Chevron, ExxonMobil and other companies outside the tech and tech-adjacent mega-cap groups have brightened aggregate earnings estimates for the quarter. On the economics front, the Commerce and Labour Departments released data that showed robust consumer spending and easing wage growth. Financial markets have now priced in an 84.5% likelihood of a fifth consecutive 75 basis point interest rate hike at the conclusion of the Fed's November 1st and 2nd policy meeting, and a 51.4% chance that the central bank will decelerate to 50 basis points in December. Meanwhile, following Elon Musk's purchase of the social media app Twitter, it was delisted from the New York Stock Exchange.
Now, 4 of the 5 largest global oil companies have now posted quarterly results combining for nearly $50 billion in net income, lifted by tight global markets and disruption following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. These record profits in a time of high inflation and economic duress have resigned the debate on windfall taxes on energy giants worldwide. Shell earned more than $9 billion in the third quarter, putting it on track to surpass its record annual profit of $31 billion set in 2008. ExxonMobil, the largest US oil producer, reported nearly $20 billion in net income in the quarter ending in September, exceeding expectations and surpassing its previous record set just 3 months earlier. Norway's oil producer Equinor also broke new ground, helped by all-time high European gas prices, and Italy's Eni nearly tripled its profit from a year ago, beating the consensus with earnings of $3.72 billion. France's Total Energies reported a record profit of $10 billion on Thursday. The sheer size of profits has reviewed calls from politicians and consumer groups to impose more taxes on the companies to raise funds to offset the hit to households, businesses and the wider economy from higher energy costs. They have also criticized big oil companies for not doing enough to raise production to offset rising fuel and heating costs. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden told oil companies this month that they were not doing enough to bring down energy costs. In the UK, the president of the COP26 climate summit, Alok Sharma, said that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government should explore extending a windfall tax on oil and gas firms. That's all the news we have for this evening. Join us again tomorrow at the same time. Good night.